After about 14 hours, I 100%ed Oddworld Stranger's Wrath. I beat the game on hard and obtained all the game's achievements. So let's discuss if this game deserves the title of cult classic or does it fall short. As always, remember to like, sub, and share, it helps a great deal. Now on to the video. Players take control of the Stranger, a bounty hunter seeking a life-saving surgery. This procedure costs $20,000 and without it, the Stranger won't survive. The narrative takes a massive shift as it heavily hints at a greater threat beyond the current objective, but I'll keep that a secret as the reasoning behind the surgery and the Stranger's hidden secret is best experienced rather than told. The writers slowly build to this reveal and leave clues for the player as they go through the journey, eventually leading to that aha moment. The bulk of the game's appeal comes from the antagonist. Players will face an array of outlaws with clever names placed on old western themes. The game starts as a western, but eventually shifts tones dramatically. The writers and developers did an exceptional job in this, as it pairs well with the new narrative that drives the Stranger forward. The conclusion is satisfying, but leaves open for more story. Unfortunately, due to the commercial failure of Stranger's Wrath when it first launched, the chances of a sequel is unlikely, but considering that the Oddworld franchise is still very much popular among a very large set of gamers, perhaps one day we might see the Stranger return in some form. Stranger's Wrath is a third and first person action adventure game at its core. Unlike a Bethesda title where a third and first person are optional depending on the player's preference, here it plays a huge role in gameplay. In third person, the Stranger is nimble, faster, can sprint, and has access to strong melee attacks, but his offensive capabilities are much more limited. In first person, the Stranger uses his crossbow that can be fitted with two different types of ammo, a basic melee swing, and is less mobile but a much more formidable threat in this mode. The ammo complements the Oddworld's franchise tone. Instead of traditional bullets, the Stranger uses living creatures as ammo. There are 8 types of ammo, each with distinct elements that complement the creatures themselves. Sting bees work like a machine gun with rapid fire launching, but they're very slow to reload. Chimpunks can lure enemies towards your location. Bolamites tangle enemies in webbing, and so on. You can obtain more creatures by knocking them out at their spawn locations where they have unique habitats, or finding them in crates around the world. The most useful are the zap flies, which are infinite. These buggers can be used to activate machines used for platforming challenges or traps against enemies. Swapping ammo can be annoying as you'll need to constantly change tactics, as the developers ensured you'll be constantly hunted for more ammo during these fights. And seeing that a lot of these ammos don't really do a lot of significant damage, you're going to have to keep hunting for more and more ammo. As a bounty hunter, you're charged with gathering criminals, either dead or alive. Each gang is run by a leader, and you can take them alive for more money or dead for less. They also use the same enemy pool, which is okay considering that this game released on the original Xbox, so they had to save money on assets. However, the enemy pool is diverse enough that you'll hardly even need to care that much. This includes all their henchmen, which the same rules apply as gathering them alive or dead will reward you with different amounts of money. If they die, their bodies will decompose, so you have a limited amount of time to capture them in your device. Each target is unique, making for intense boss fights. To take someone alive, you must stun them by draining their stamina, but this meter recovers over time, which means you have to drain it very quickly. Health does not recover, and it makes for a better option when you play the game on hard difficulty, as killing enemies is much more efficient, and the stamina meter recovers so quickly in the hardest difficulty that it makes it next to impossible unless the enemy is already weak. Like, certain boss enemies are already fragile, so you can tangle them up with Bolamites automatically, but that's far between. Unfortunately, the game teases extra dialogue if you keep the target alive during the beginning of the game. The first 3 targets that you keep alive can be interacted with in the jail cell. It's only limited dialogue, but it's something interesting, at least you can get more out of them. However, seeing that the other towns that you take people alive don't have a jail cell, I assume that this was meant for earlier versions of the game, but was later cut out to save time, because it makes no sense to have it at the beginning of the game and then later on to not keep that same system. The game includes 3 explorable towns, each to serve as a hub area to take on the next bounty. The developers did go the extra mile to add personality to each area. The town is full of chicken people called clankers, with a variety of outfits to showcase their distinct nature. You can also mug them, which is pretty surprising, but they'll respond in hiding in their homes and even shooting at the stranger from the safety of their homes. The developers wanted this world to feel alive, and they really succeeded. As you head town to town, you'll come across clankers building homes. You can interact with them about your current objective, and they'll give you relevant dialogue. They'll interact with one another. They have distinguished outfits for each of the characters. They'll go in and out of homes. It's really well done. Even the wildlife sometimes provides environmental diversity with creatures that have no reason to be in the game. They're just there because the area just needed more wildlife. But you're here for one thing and one thing only, and that is money. Money allows the stranger to not only save up for the surgery, but purchase new perks. The developers added small amounts of money throughout the game, ranging from hidden chests to rare minerals hidden away in the game, just to add some more life into the world, showing that the outlaws hid their money in various locations, and that the world itself has an array of valuable material that you can harvest. There aren't any optional objectives unless you include the dead or alive system, but there are optional upgrades where you can make the game harder or easier depending on whether you have enough money to spare. Each general store in each town provides an array of upgrades each time you put in a bounty. This increases things such as ammo capacity, higher stamina, better stamina regeneration, and so on. Stamina does play a huge role within the gameplay, as it allows the stranger to regenerate health and perform melee attacks. You can only regen stamina by standing still or by performing limited movements. If you're moving in any full direction, you won't regenerate stamina, making it a very critical resource that you need to manage. Eventually, the game does shift the entire combat system and some gameplay systems for the latter half of the game, but in a very tasteful way. Instead of collecting bounties for money, you'll get more powerful ammo by harvesting bodies, and the entire reason is narrative, but its shift is so well done that you barely notice. Yeah, you won't be able to purchase any more items, but considering where the narrative shifts now, it really works within this gameplay system. The game isn't long, and on medium or easy, you can complete it in about 6 hours. Hard mode may add about 3 hours due to the game's archaic system of just giving enemies more health and dealing more damage. At times, it can also feel very unfair on hard difficulties, as some enemies can remove more than half your health with a single hit, especially enemies such as boss fights where they can just charge your position, and given their bloated health bars, it can be a real nuisance to deal with. Sometimes the AI is on your side, sometimes it's not, so it can be a really wishy-washy experience. This can become incredibly problematic during the final levels as the game pushes large pools of enemies, especially during the time section at the end of the game where they just toss everything at you. I need to make note of this, the sound design of Stranger's Wrath is exceptional and leaks beyond most modern day video games. The clever use of Western music, high octane battle themes, and general sound effects make it for an ideal experience. It's one of those games where you don't really notice it until you take the time to listen. You'll notice the amazing sound direction, the synergy between gameplay, story, and music is just simply perfect, and it shows how much passion they had for creating this complementary experience where everything just melts together even when the shift of tone happens during the halfway point. You definitely notice the difference between the Western themes and the new themes that they're going for. I'm trying to keep information limited for the later half because I really want people to experience this game because the shift is so grand that it's hard to believe that it's still the same game. Oddworld Stranger's Wrath was a game that was really ahead of its time. The unique combination of third and first person gameplay was ambitious and well executed here, especially considering that it released on the original Xbox. The cinematic story takes just as much risk as the gameplay, shifting the tone halfway from a classic Western theme to a corporate greed, purpose, and environmentalism is a tall order, but somehow the writers succeeded here. Oddworld Stranger's Wrath is a gem of a game and something that everyone should experience at least once. Yes, the platforming can feel a little dated and it's not as precise as other platforming games, but it does the job so well that you'll overlook a lot of the shortcomings that the game has. A title made with care and passion that puts most modern AAA releases to shame in quality and creativity, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath is definitely a cult classic that everyone should experience. It is something that really showcases what you can do with a team that really wants to make something truly great.
Never liked guns. Oh man, why'd you have to do that? No, look, you don't need to do that!